starting a great conversation today. It's called Check the Box. Check the box this morning. And it really is this idea that sometimes we make faith so hard. It is kind of super simple. And sometimes if we just check the box, the byproduct of that is we just know God more and more in our lives. And we learn to love him more and love people around us more. And discipline sometimes can feel like checking the box. I remember it's been a few years back, we were at Thanksgiving. Some of you guys have heard this story before. And Lexi or Grayson were looking at my mom's iPad. They were scrolling through pictures, and all of a sudden they were like at the beach, and I was like, man, like they are standing beside a creeper. Like, who is that guy? And Lexi's like, that's you. I'm like, no, that's not me. Give me that thing. Ordered Insanity on the spot, like straight to Craigslist, get it delivered, and had this little thing, like, like you would do the workout for a week, and then like you take a picture like in the same spot each week, and like over time, you should see a difference, so man, hated like every day with Sean T, like hated it, but like stuck with it. And like 6 weeks later, I'm like, hey babe, bring sexy back, like look here it is, look at the progression kind of thing. And it's amazing, like doing the disciplined things, the byproduct of that often gets us life that we want. And faith sometimes is really simple like that. It's really simple like that. And so it's going to be super practical, like in a couple of weeks. We're really going to look at what are the boxes that would be helpful for you to check, that will help you to grow closer to Jesus and who he's called you to be and to better represent him within the world and to develop deep friendships around you so that you can live as an everyday missionary where you live, work, and play. So the last thing we want is for you to be a Sunday consumer, right? We don't need any more consumer Christians in the world today. We need everyday missionaries that see themselves planted here where God has called them to be, where they live, work, and play, to bring light, to be light in that. And so we're going to look at how do we get to that life. So today and next week, I really want to set kind of big picture vision for us. Yesterday, my 8U basketball team, we had a game, played the Knicks. They were undefeated. We'd only lost the game, pulled it out. We won by 2. It was great. No technical fouls on my part, like hung in there, like I was okay. But before the game, I just said to the kids, I said, look guys, like we're gonna go play, but the big picture is this. Like here's the deal. Like we need to be a good teammate. We need to have fun and play hard. If you do those things well, that's the big win. So like this week and next week, I just want to set the stage. Like what's the big picture thing that's really driving this idea of checking the box? Our memory verse for the series is this. Like, we're up in the ante here. This is going to take you a minute, okay? You're going to have to put in some effort, all right? This is not Jesus wept, all right? A little bit more, okay? You can say it with me if you want, or I'll read it to you. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only as in my presence, but much more in my absence. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. Like it's our job to work out our salvation. He loves you as he finds you. It was that glorious day that we ran out of that grave. That moment where Jesus says to us, like, I no longer want you to be an orphan. I want you to be a part of my family. Like I'm giving you that gift now. Work out your salvation. Like it'd be super awkward for you guys to be like on April, hey, Chad brought you a birthday gift. And I just like left it there and I never opened it. And I know like imagine that. Imagine if like you put some thought into getting me a gift and you came back the next week and it was just like right there, unopened. You'd be like that. You'd be crying. Like, I can't believe you. And then imagine like the next week it was still unwrapped, but it was kind of like back there in the corner a little bit. You're like, what in the world, man? Like that's rude. not even nice. Like we have this gift, and Paul says, like, work out your salvation, like work it out. And so the next several weeks, we're going to really look at what it means to actually do that. All right. So just a couple things in our flesh. These can be some things for today that kind of get in our way. Like in my flesh, I don't know where my true residency is. Meaning like I have all kinds of things that give me identity in my life. Maybe where I work, where I live, who I'm married to, like what I do as a hobby, like all these things that are competing for my allegiance in my life. Sometimes I don't know, where is my true residency? Like what sits at the top of my life? And then I'm not getting to know God better. Like I'm a follower of Jesus, but I mean, just like do you know God better today than you did when He found you? You didn't find Him. He found you. Do you know Him better than you did last year? Do you know Him better? We increasingly getting to know God better, because the idea is this, like the last thing I want for your life or for my life is for you to get to heaven, and it's like you meet like God, you're like, hi. You know, like, no, like what I want for your life, for my life, is it's like the continuation of a relationship I've been fostering my whole life that hasn't been fully complete until now. Where I've been fostering a glimpse of something that I know is going to be so much more. And it's just that next step. Sometimes in our life, like it can feel like, gosh, I don't know if I'm getting to know God any better. And then when that happens, I can feel confused about God and feel incompetent in living out my faith. Like you find yourself this morning and you think like, man, at times I just feel a little confused about God, and at times I feel a little incompetent about what it means to work out my salvation. I think this conversation over the next several weeks are going to be helpful for you, okay? Going to be helpful for you. Let me just say this before we jump into the scripture this morning. Through Jesus, you are part of the family, okay? Through Him. He loves you as He finds you. And so we're not coming to something like this on a Sunday morning to make God happy. We're not coming to make God happy. Coming to something like this on Sunday morning should help to remind us of where our residency is. Are you tracking? It should help remind me of what's the highest, what's on the top, what's informing everything else within my life, okay? Now, we're in John 14 today, verses 18 through 21. And John 14, 15, 16, 17. This is Jesus basically like, I'm passing off the baton to you guys. Like we've walked for a long time together, a few years, and now I'm getting ready to move on. And as I move on, here are some things that are so important that if you're going to be a follower of me, these are things that you need to know. These are things that you need to take into your heart, chew on them, this and that, okay? So in John 14, verse 18, he says this. He says, I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Yet a little while, and the world will see me no more, but you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. Like you're with me, okay? You're with me. I'm not going to leave you as an orphan. I'm ready to go, and you're going to be here, but then I'm going to go somewhere else, and where I'm going is actually home. Like I'm going home, and you're going to come there too, because that's where you now belong. You belong to me, but I'm going to leave you behind for a bit. And now you need to work out your salvation, i.e., you need to work out what it means that you belong to me. Now, where you live until that time comes. In that day, you will know that I am in the Father, and you in me, and I in you. Whoever has my commandments and keeps them, he it is who loves me, and he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest my myself to him. You're with me. I mean, Jesus is one of the things that Jesus wanted to make sure they know is where they reside. Like, you're going to live in the world, but as Paul says, like, you're not of the world anymore. Like, now because of me and what I'm going to do, I'm going to defeat death, right? I'm going to die, but then in 3 days, I'm going to rise from this. That's what the story tells us. And then that means that I'm greater than death, and now I've invited you into that life. So now you're no longer an orphan, but now you are a part of my family. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I just think it's so easy for us not to think that way. It's so easy for us not to think as someone who's an orphan. Like sometimes, we don't let ourselves go there. Like we actually think and operate sometimes that Jesus is the one orphaned and we invite him into our world. Are you tracking? Like, God's the one that's orphaned who needs a home, and so I invite him into my life, versus, no, I'm actually an orphan, and in Jesus, God has invited me back into his family. And so Jesus is giving the disciples that truth to hold on to. Now, if within that, I don't think God ever meant for life to be confusing and chaotic. Like, never for life for him to be confusing, but God meant for life with him to be clear and compelling. And what is clear is that we were orphans, and then through Jesus, God invited us back into the family. That now we're a representative of that family, and that now my job is to work out my salvation each and every day as I reside here, but belong somewhere else within my life. Now, let me tell you how this gets a little wonky for us, okay? So, lots of times, I'm a pastor who's a Christian. I'm an engineer who's a Christian. I'm a teacher who's a Christian. I'm a firefighter who's a Christian. I'm a soldier who's a Christian. I'm a business owner who's a Christian. I'm a nurse who's a Christian. I'm a husband who's a Christian. I'm a wife who's a Christian. I'm a father who's a Christian. I am a Russian who's a Christian. I am an Asian who's a Christian. I am an American who's a Christian. I'm a white-skinned guy who's a Christian. I'm a black-skinned lady who is a Christian. Like, whenever that's the story of how we understand ourselves, we've missed it completely. Like, completely missed it. Completely missed it. What's true is that you're a Christian. Like, I'm a Christian who happens to be a pastor. I'm a Christian who happens to be a husband. I'm a Christian who happens to be a guy named Chad, who happens to live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, who happens to be in America. You're a Christian who happens to be an Asian. You're a Christian who happens to be a teacher. You're a Christian who happens to be a soldier. You're a Christian who happens to be a nurse. You feel me? Like it's only in that way that I can truly understand what it looks like to work out my salvation. Any other way, I'm missing it completely. So what happens a lot is I take those other worldly identities and I project them onto my faith. Like, just imagine if all Christians just in America today refused to say, look, I'm a Republican who's a Christian or a Democrat who's a Christian. What if we just said, I'm actually a Christian who happens to be a Republican, or a Christian who happens to be what if being a Christian informed all the other areas of our lives? Are you with me? Like, what if being a follower of Jesus informed how I love Amanda, informed how I care for my kids, informed how I pastor you all, informed how you go about your job, informed over and over and over again. And so this whole conversation about working out our salvation is that we need to have a discipline of boxes to check in our place that remind us where we reside. Where we reside. You and I, you're passing through. You're passing through. This is not home for you. Thankfully. This is not home. You're passing through, and there will come a day where you will go to the next step. Life's always about transition, right? And I mean, come on, how many of you guys know about transition around here? Like how many of you, like life's all, you know about moving, you know about transition within your life. Life is about that. And there'll become that moment where you'll transition from this life to the next. And the next will be beautiful and perfect. It will be home for you. What I want to encourage you to think about is, what does it look like for you as a follower of Jesus to see myself as I'm working out my salvation, i.e., I'm learning how to project my faith onto every area of my life instead of projecting every area of my life onto my faith. Okay? I think it's really important for us, really important for us. It reminds me a little bit, Kyle, he does way better videos than me, so if you know, it only goes up from here, you guys. It only goes up from here. About the time they were coming to plant Crossroads North, right around that same time, that time frame, Lauren had his wife had always felt called to adoption, and she felt called to adopting special needs. And right about the same time they were moving back to Fayetteville to plant the north side, they got a call about a little baby for them. And so Manny came into their life, and Manny's fantastic. If you haven't got to meet him yet, he's so fantastic. Now, Manny would never be like, I wish Kyle and Lauren wouldn't have taken me in. I mean, he lucked out. Manny lucked out. Like, I mean, imagine if you'd come to our house. Like, Kyle and Lauren are way more fun than me and Amanda are. You know, like he lucked out. He lucked out. And he would never be like, I don't want to be a part of this. No. In the same way, he loves you as he finds you. He loves you as he finds you. He's invited you into his family, not the other way around. And I think the more that we can see ourselves through that lens of being adopted in, the more we have grace for other people that are around us. A couple key questions, I think. Have I truly accepted and embraced that I'm an adopted orphan? It just changes things, you know? Like, it's so easy to be entitled in our culture. Like it's so easy for me to operate like I chose to be the kid of Chuck and Vicky. You know? I didn't choose that. Like, you didn't. I'm guessing none of y'all were like, I'm going to choose to be me. It just kind of happened that way. Do I know where my primary citizenship is in my life? I think it's so crucial. I think it's so crucial. If Christian is secondary, you're not Christian. Let me just say it that way. I don't know how else to say it. If Christian is secondary, you're not Christian. That's just true. Like if other things inform how you practice your faith versus your faith informing how you operate around other things. This week, here's what I'd love for you to do. I'd love for you to spend the first part of your week talking to God about this. Now, what's this? I don't know, whatever your this is this morning. So whatever's going through, you know, your heart, mind, and soul, like right now, whatever this is, I'd love for you to spend the first part of the week talking with him about that. Ask him questions. Talk about your fears. Talk about your confusion. And then secondly, I'd love for you to spend the second part of the week writing a letter to him. Some of you guys, like, you're a 3-sentence person. Anybody 3-sentence people? Write 3 sentences, okay? If you're a book, you know, like pages and pages, go after it, okay? Go after it. I just think this week it'd be helpful to spend the first part talking, and then in light of that, spend the second part writing, whatever it may be. Now, if you're a book person and you just do 3 sentences, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Like spend the second part writing second part of the week writing a letter to God along the way. And as you do that, just know this week and next week, we're really just trying to set the picture of the reason we want to check the box, all right, is we want to work out our salvation. Namely, we want to continue to remember where our primary citizenship is within our life and how that informs all the other areas of our life. And I just think that, all the different hats you guys wear, there's so many different ones. I just think that projecting Jesus onto those different hats will make you better at all of them. Okay, will make you better at all of them along the way. And so we hope to help you with that. All right?